Romans had stirrups, and the Saxons did not. And although they were outnumbered 400 to 1, because they could stand in their saddles, gave them a military advantage.
That did help. You know, you're quite right, Chicken. The stirrup was a medieval innovation. The Romans never had it at all. And it does convey an advantage. For one thing, you can post in the saddle, which I always do, and steady yourself, so you're not constantly bounding up and down. And it helps you deliver a stroke with a sword, a battle axe, a morning star, or you can actually crush him on the head with a shield if you get close enough.
There it is.
The long Romans did not mount horse, but were a class of yeomanry. Nonetheless, they destroyed the French chivalry at Agincourt, as every schoolboy knows.
Can cloaked Klingon ships see each other? Right.
Last week, I believe it was last week, I was talking about research that's being done right now by our own government and how to create cloaked, i.e. invisible things. And they're actually getting somewhere, although it's been on a micro level. However, this was in the last issue of Science News, not the present issue of Science News. But this article, which was worth pursuing to the end, pointed out that when you're cloaked, they can't see you, but you can't see them. You are effectively blind. If you make yourself invisible, you can't see them. As long as they can't see you, it works two ways. If you make yourself completely transparent, for example, and light passes through you, well, it's not going to bounce off your retina, is it? You will be as if you were wandering in a coal bin. And all your advantage of being invisible in the girls' locker room or wherever will be totally vitiated and dissipated. But there are other ways of shielding and cloaking. It's interesting that the article actually mentioned the damn Klingons and their cloaking field. So apparently when you just suggest something this preposterous, it causes scientists to start working on it. Even entertainment has its long-range consequences.
So,
I don't like questions that begin with "so."
I know you don't.
Because they present a certain challenging attitude, which may be difficult to refute. But let's see.
We've only got a couple of questions left here.
All right, okay.
I've saved the best, worst ones for last.
Last question. So.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The San Francisco supervisors passed an ordinance with a $100 fine if your trash barrels are visible from the street.
Oh my God.
Fucking morons. Fucking morons.
After they require you to have a compost bin, so now you've got 3 huge bulbous plastic bins, which you have to make sure are out at the right time.
They're criminalizing garbage.
Yes,
They're criminalizing having garbage cans.
Just don't let Newsom's garbage police find eggshells in the wrong garbage can, or you might be in for a hefty fine from the city of San Francisco.
If you could actually, because your garbage gets picked up 4 times a month, right? If you do everything wrong relating to your garbage, you could be fined $8,000. Ridiculous. Okay, here we go. So the San Francisco supervisors passed an ordinance with a $100 fine if your trash barrels are visible from the street.
Was that a side note you got there?
Well, let's get right to the side note then. Since been repealed, well, allegedly repealed. You can't trust anyone who comes to this shitty show. Are you kidding? Like I'm gonna count on you for my information?
No sooner is it mentioned than it's disposed of. How's that for service? I don't have to worry about those eggshells anymor, folks. Courtesy of the Ask Dr. Hal.
There it goes. It also says on the side note, too much righteous outrage.
Well, you were spouting off just a second ago. I don't know why you're so high and mighty.
I was just giving information to the public, to the people. This is a media outlet.
All right.
We're like Fox News here.
Well, I hope that is meant.
The information is there, and then before you know it,
and before you know it,
I used to be able to do that, you know? I could, but I can do that. Hold on. I gotta redeem myself with this bookmark.
Flex those show muscles. With your special bookmark and delivery system. And the sticker of the Round and round she goes. And where she stops, nobody knows.
Okay, Rob, can you get me out of here, please?
It's that time of year to dig down into your wallet and give to the Dr. Hal dinosaur. You know, many plastic dinosaurs are not expensive at all, but there are some people out there who just can't afford to pay for them. In a time of economic downturn and uncertainty about America's economic future.
I got this question about the goddamn barrels.
Barrels?
I want to know, is it okay to wrap the barrels with a vinyl tarp?
Oh, wrap them that way.
And that has a life-size picture of the green, blue, and black bins. So this way you can't actually see the bins, but you can see a picture of the bins.
Well, you know, Dr. Hal Dec, am a friend to all people, and I would never levy a hefty fine for the wrong sort of garbage bin or any other perceived infraction. But unfortunately, we are dealing with an inflexible local city government, one whose operatives expect to be judged on how well they perform. And when the officer sees your car perhaps parked in the red or perhaps not, so close that you can't even tell which side you think they fall on, do they write a ticket and increase their quota, or do they give you a pass? I'm afraid human nature being what it is, the unusual livery of the garbage cans in question would in no way protect them from the severe and swift actions of local pettifoggery and officialdom. In other words, you're screwed.
Can I get an STD for sharing a belt sander with an infected person during foreplay? Where can I get a belt sander condom?
Well, this of course entirely depends on how you use this belt sander and what part of the anatomy you employ it in your extended and aided frottage. Yes, this is something which will apparently require a large sheet of impermeable material. Not just plastic, but something like fiberglass. And the shavings or pieces of fiberglass come on the outside of the sheet. When it gets close to the inside of the sheet, it's time to replace your fiberglass. But surprisingly enough, or perhaps not even surprising given the wide varieties of human expression and sexual experience, just the vibration of the belt sander itself is enough to send some people into ecstasies and bring all heaven before their eyes.
Okay, this next question. Dr. Hal, can you please explain the evolution of chopsticks as an eating utensil?
How did this ever get started? Who ever needed two sticks to eat? Couldn't you just jam your hand in the food, tear out a dripping hunk, and cram it into your mouth? Why do we need this excessive delicacy, this mincing around with sticks? Well, there's a very good reason, and I will come to that in its place, which is, of course, later on. Because now I'm going to tell a little story about how, at Burning Man, I tried to make everyone in my camp happy by melting some cheese and some peppers and other things on crackers, arranging them decorously, and bringing them around the camp. And the first person that I came to, I didn't recognize as actually some incredibly stoned out French hippie with dreadlocks who had stumbled into the camp and was sitting there, and when I offered the tray to him, instead of delicately taking a cookie, he mashed his incredibly filthy hand down in the middle of all the cheese, and you know, I didn't need that. If only he'd had two sticks, he could have reached and plucked one and transferred it to his mouth, and they say Asia isn't ahead of us. I think they don't know what they're talking about. Well, why do you need two sticks? Well, why not use a fork?